it's important to schedule into busy time frames moments of stillness. If you are not still, how can you hear? How can you receive a message? How will you know when God is even speaking to you? How will you know even when your body is speaking to you? Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the StormCast. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for just clicking and for finding it interesting for us to have these conversations. I appreciate you. I see you. I feel you in my heart. Anyways, at this junction, we are now partway through January. We're coming to the end of January, and I want to talk to you guys because it feels like probably that initial ginger from the beginning of the year, is it dying out? We have the New Year's resolution time where everyone's like, oh, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to make sure. Yeah. That feeling leaves after a while. And I thought it'd be good to kind of think through, because I was feeling it from the end of 2025 into 2026. A few things. Reality, the pressure of new year, new me. How will certain people sustain that pressure? At the time that I'm recording this is actually still a little bit fresh into the new year. I'm just like a couple of days into the new year, and already it feels like a year where so many things have happened. We have seen travel bans be put in place, and I keep talking about it because it's huge. For somebody who is particular about, I'm not even particular, I like traveling. I like exploring the world. I don't believe that we should be limited by borders, whether they are digital or they're physical. But that's what humans do, and the world is changing already in 2026. I want to talk about how so many people are burnt out from last year. They're still burnt out. Are you one of those people? How many people really took the time to rest? Because the Christmas season, the holiday season is really a very intense time for a lot of people and for a lot of reasons. For those who are African or Nigerian like myself, it's a time when a lot of people are migrating home. It's a time for a lot of family, a lot of community. I know that globally as well, people want to travel to wherever home is at. Sometimes it's where your parents are. Sometimes you may not have parents around anymore, which makes the Christmas season as well a challenging time emotionally to also deal with, because we are flooded with images and narratives of happy, wholesome families, when for a number of people, December time is a time that they're reminded of their grief. You're reminded of who isn't there. You're reminded of who didn't make it to the end of the year with you, and it can also be a sobering time. And that sort of reflection can also weigh a little bit heavy. So when you get into the new year and you get into a January that's been busy, where you're trying to do this and that, if you haven't had the opportunity to rest, to really just feel out your soul, to feel out where the pain points are, by the time you get to this, towards the end of January, like we're reaching right now, as you're watching this episode, or as this episode is being launched, it can feel insane. And I really want us to really think about that and to reflect on that. Should we be focusing so heavily on the idea of starting brand new things or doing new things, or are we looking at building on what is already there? For many reasons, I like the idea of starting again in January. And it's just because you could start whenever, right? I do believe in the idea of being able to start again, of never being afraid to start again, of never being afraid to begin again. Whatever the routine is, whatever the pattern is that is beneficial to you, we should be keen to begin that again. And January is as good a time as any, and tends to be a significant time to feel like, okay, it's new beginnings. It's just like it's the start of a year. Let me just start this. But when we're setting intentions and goals, how do you set your intentions and goals? What are your intentions and goals for yourself? I often wonder, does the goal setting add more pressure? Is the pressure necessary, or is the pressure something that could break you over time? I don't know that I have the answer to that, to be honest with you. I do feel that there are, man, I feel that we're living in a time and an age where we are so exposed to so much of what other people are doing that it is hard to distinguish how we feel from the noise of what society is telling us we're supposed to feel, or from the noise of what other people are doing and how other people feel that we should be showing up in certain spaces. And that in itself is a burden. That in itself is a difficulty. That in itself is a challenge. And that in itself is not helpful. It is so easy for us to overlook the many ways that we have achieved in the past year. It's so easy for us to overlook the many ways that we've already shown up really well for ourselves at the start of January by setting ourselves up to standards and goals and objectives that sometimes are not really rooted in reality, are not really rooted in anything concrete. Okay, you want to start a new year habit. You want to live a healthier version of you. And you decide that this year what you're going to do is you're going to be in the gym. You're going to dedicate 2 hours in the morning to the gym. Then you're also going to dedicate like an hour to half an hour for prayer time. Then you're also going to dedicate another. Well, how many hours do you think you're going to find for yourself in the day to do all of these things? If it's sustainable for 2 days, for 4 days, maybe even for 1 week, can you really sustain that for the next 12 months or the next 11 months? Is it sustainable fully for 30 days? My cousin introduced me, one of my cousins, and I love that I reference my cousins so often because they really are my friends. But one of my cousins, he introduced me to the idea of habit stacking and trying to find the smallest increments of habits. And I think this is an idea that Malcolm Gladwell put in one of his books as well, where you just sort of, you stack these little increments. Okay, you want to introduce yourself to a healthier lifestyle, and workout is a big part of that. I feel like you should be moving at least 20 to 30 minutes a day minimum. Maybe it's hard for you to officially say, I'm going to give myself this 30 minutes. And 30 minutes is easier to find than 1 hour. It's easier to find than 2 solid hours uninterrupted, depending on how busy you are at life, depending on the level of responsibilities you have, depending on how many hours in the day you really have to yourself. Through this the next few seasons of the StormCast, you're going to see some of the guests that I've spoken to, which is really cool. And one guest talks about waking up at 4 a.m. I cannot wake up at 4 a.m. I mean, I can, but I it's not for me. That's not really what I want to do. You understand? But I think that if you are comfortable waking up at 5, at 6 a.m., you can find 10 minutes, 15 minutes at that time to just move your body in whatever way. Could be a skipping rope, could be running on the spot, could be doing push-ups, could be doing jumping jacks. You can use your body to work out. You don't even have to go to the gym. If you can commit 10 minutes a day alone, over time, the compound impact of that is incredible. It is incredible. Let's even say, okay, you skip a couple of days here and there. But the point is that you start the habit and you keep going, and it's a lot less pressure than telling yourself that, oh, I'm going to be doing this by in another 3 weeks. By the end of this month, I should have lost all the weight that you've been accumulating since November, all the way to January. Relax, my brothers and sisters. Relax. Okay, it's not that deep. Sometimes when you set these really intense goals and you set a lot of them at the same time, when you start to notice, and it will happen, that you are not quite able to meet up with all those goals all at the same time, it can really demoralize you, and that means that you will fall off in such a huge way. So you have people that start sometimes dry January. Maybe you're a pretty regular social drinker and you decide, I'm going teetotal, no more. I'm not going to touch another drop of alcohol. I'm not touching again. Okay, let's say you survive that 1 month. Is it a long-term sustainable habit for you, depending on your lifestyle, depending on your work, some people can do it. You can say, okay, like long-term, I'm not going to touch it. But for a number of people, they're just counting down the days and the minutes and the hours till they can go and like guzzle again. Do you want to be at a guzzling stage, or do you want to be at a healthy lifestyle change? You need to incorporate very, very small habits. And I say this to you because I'm really saying it to myself, to be honest with you. I've witnessed this over and over again. I've witnessed it in myself. I've learned to give myself more grace. I've learned to give myself a lot more patience in how I approach the year. And again, coming to the end of this month, coming to the end of January, I want to make sure that my habits are sustainable. I'm so proud to note that over the years, certain habits, certain disciplines I've instilled along the way. And I also recognize for myself what are the things that I can do and what are the things I cannot do. I know that if I set my mind to cutting certain things off, I can do it. I just have to set the time period for which that's happening. And I set that incrementally because I know over time, if I shut out certain vices, if I stop certain habits that are not the good habits, what that does, if I say, okay, I'm going to do this for 1 month, I'll do this for half a year, I'll do this for as long as I can go, and then I'll stop. What happens is over time, I start reducing my appetite for certain things. So my appetite for certain vices has dropped dramatically over the last 2 years. I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm not doing too badly overall. So this January, I haven't set any brand new intentions, like none. I think in previous years, the last 2 years, I was like, no, I got to sit down, got to do a compass reset. I need to see where I'm at. This January, I was like, do you know what? Build. Just continue to build on these good habits. Look at the habits that you really like, the ones that you think have been beneficial, the ones that I can see the effect of, and those are things like my prayer habits. Those are things like my eating and drinking habits. Those are things like my sleeping habits. Good habits that I've incorporated over the last few months that are back in again, things like my reading habit, just making sure I'm picking up books that are interesting to me. Sometimes when you say, oh, I want to read this book, you think that it has to be almost like a textbook or it has to be someone's biography. No, sometimes just read the fantasy novel, but just read what is interesting to you. Just read what reading and writing does for critical thinking skills, for brain development. I don't think that we are talking about it enough. I don't think we understand how critical thinking skills are dying out. People are becoming dumber exponentially. Yeah, you and I don't know if you've ever noticed certain conversations you have. If you haven't picked up a book in a while, you'll notice you start using the same words over and over again. You'll notice that your turn of phrase is very standard. You'll notice there is no diversity. You will notice your inability to communicate things as effectively as you possibly could simply because your vocabulary is so limited, because you have not bothered educating yourself. You're losing any sense of education. That's what sort of going to school was doing for us when we were younger. A number of us as adults have not done any real continuous education, any real continuous assessment, any real self-development in a long time. So we're not reading, we're not studying, we're not learning, we're watching. We're just watching other people, and very often, because what we're watching is on our phone and we're watching sensational media, we're watching a lot of other people that are not very bright. So we're all being influenced by the same things. We're being influenced by the same aesthetics. We're being influenced by the same thought patterns. It's very limited if you're not picking up a book, if you're not picking up a newspaper, if you are not simply reading and reading different ideas, reading about different worlds, reading about different perspectives. Just read. I cannot explain the kind of work that it does for your brain. And also, just to sleep, it helps you shut down better. Did you know that? Did you know that when you sit on your phone and you're looking at blue light, which is what comes off phones and television screens, like even when you fall asleep with that on, it keeps your brain active so you don't actually get proper rest, which is why you still wake up in the morning feeling tired? Did you know that? It's nuts. It's a real thing. And I know this because I spent very, very many years doing that, of falling asleep with the TV on. Even till now, it's like a weird, it's like a numbing habit. When you've had a tough day, when you've had a tiring day, there's so many things going, you're like, let me just find one TV show and just put it on and just zone out. We all do it, but it's so bad for us. It's so bad. I've had to consciously work my way out of that habit again to say, okay, do not watch television to fall asleep. Do not scroll to fall asleep. Pick up a book. And when you pick up a book, you start nodding off in a lot, and it's so much more natural. So it allows your brain to shut down. You probably dream a lot more intensely. You probably dream a lot more interestingly as well. So read a book. The benefits for reading are incredible. It forces your imagination. As an actor, I rely on my imagination. I need to be able to imagine being all sorts of things and all sorts of people. I need to be able to dream. I need to be able to see realities beyond what it is that I'm experiencing. And quite often, how do you picture a reality that you've never lived if somebody isn't sparking that dream in you, if you're not indulging it somehow? Yes, you could watch TV shows, and I think those are really good as well, but TV is already showing you somebody else's reality. What words do is it allows you to draft what that reality could be in your brain. And I know everyone sees things differently in their head. Some people see in pictures, some people don't. Like, I don't even know if I see in pictures. I see it in impressions. It's like a gray outline. It's very rarely that I can think of like, oh yeah, it's a clear like image, picture, and I see that image and picture clearly. Often that happens with my memory. But when I'm just thinking, when I'm reading a book, I don't see a particular face. I get impressions of the scenario and I get very strong emotional cues. In fact, if I'm so wrapped up in a book, and this is now just me gisting you guys personally, but you know, you get the point. It's really about reading. If I'm really wrapped up in a book, if a book is particularly good and if it's done its job, when it gets tense in that book, it's so emotionally tense, I have to put the book down because the characters are stressing me out. Have you ever been in a public place where you've been reading a book and then you just go, oof, now, wow, I have to take a walk. I have to walk around the room because what I've read is so powerful. And I'm smiling about it and gushing a bit because it's really cool. It's a geek thing to say, but it's such a cool thing. We need to read more. And I really want people to lean into reading whatever it is that you love, whatever it is that's going to spark emotion, that's going to spark inspiration, whatever it is that's even going to get you gossiping. We're not supposed to gossip, but maybe you just like a good chinwag. Maybe somebody's life story and you want to know the details from their perspective so you can just go and read their book. I advise you today, go and read the book of somebody you want to gossip about. You know, I motivate people in the right way. It may not make any sense, but it makes a lot of sense. And I say all of that to say that I think that's such a great habit, that if you have that as a goal for yourself this year, and I know a lot of people keep saying, yeah, I'll read more, I'll do this. Do it in small increments, man. Do like a chapter at a time, a page at a time. It doesn't have to be anything major. It doesn't have to be a huge deal. Just habit stack. It doesn't have to be new year, new you. It should be new year building on the same old you, building to make yourself better. You should only be aspiring to be the best version of the self that you know how to be. And that's what I really want for you this year. I also want us to take the time as we come to the end of the first month of 2026 to really self-assess. Know thyself. Do you know who you are? Who is you, girl? Who is you? Who are you? Do you know who you are? The person that you are today, is it exactly the same person you were 2 years ago? I think not. I should hope not. I should hope that we're evolving. I should hope that we're growing. I should hope that we're developing. And if that is happening, you need to sit down and assess that. It's important to schedule into busy time frames moments of stillness. If you are not still, how can you hear? How can you receive a message? How will you know whether it is or when God is even speaking to you? How will you know even when your body is speaking to you? Do you know how many of us discover our illnesses or discover major problems in our bodies when our bodies start screaming? Not when they start speaking, because our bodies are always speaking. The human body is the perfect biofeedback system. It is always relaying information to your brain. However, with the noise of modern day living, that is, we have tasks, we have school, we have this, we have TV, we have social, we have where like people like me who exist on caffeine every day, people who are so used to being sleep deprived, like you nap for 2 hours, you're like, yeah, you know, it's okay, I'll snatch like 30 minutes here, I'll snatch another 1 hour here. What you're doing is you're throwing your body into a constant state of chaos. So constantly you're used to blocking out the problems that your body is telling you have, because at those moments you're like, okay, yeah, I know I'm tired because of this, maybe it's because of this. But if you are never still, if you are never taking the time to just say, let me listen to myself, how do you know when there is a big problem? How do you address the problem before it becomes a big problem? This is also what happens, I believe, with our mental well-being. There are so many of us, and I put myself in this category as well, that are dealing with low-level, almost consistent burnout. It's just there in the background. You're weary, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you're so used to just push through. God's strongest soldier. How far? How are you doing? Everything, don't worry. No, don't worry. I'm going to be good. Worry. Take pause. What is the, look at your calendar now. Now. Look at your, do you have one? Are you scheduling in things, or is it just as it shows up? Because a lot of people are guilty of that. I'm guilty of that sometimes. I become better with scheduling. But look at your calendar now. Have you scheduled in personal days? I had a friend remind me of that, because I always feel like, oh yeah, I figured this out. I know when I'm gonna. But when you look at the calendar and you see gaps, when more work comes your way, you're going to fill in the gaps of the more work. You're going to. If you don't learn how to schedule in personal days or personal time slots where you're like, no, this hour is for this, for me. Self-assessment is a necessity. Taking the time to check in with yourself to see how you are doing is a necessity. Taking the time to examine what is nourishing you and what is draining you is a necessity. Schedule that time in your day. Schedule that time in your week. Schedule that time in your month. Schedule the time to do things that make you feel good, even when you feel like subconsciously, oh, this is being luxurious, this is being extra. It doesn't matter. I'm someone who likes to think that, oh, I don't necessarily prioritize my looks. Like, it's okay. I'm fine. I can just rough and tumble it. And yeah, on some level, that's nice. That's convenient that I could just get up and go. As long as I'm decently put together, let me get up and go. But I've also noticed that if I really don't take the time, and too often I'm forgetting to schedule in certain beauty things until it is a work requirement, it affects the way that I see myself. It affects my mental well-being. It does. If you are not put together, if you don't look good, you don't feel good. It's not revolutionary, but it often bears repeating, and it often bears being reminded about. Schedule that time in for yourself. This is a good time to sit down and reassess and to look at how the year has started off, to look at how your 2026 is shaping up. You can still adjust things. You can still realign, and you should be doing that because the world is constantly adjusting. The world is constantly realigning. You need to prioritize you, because when you fill yourself up, you can pour into your community. I hope you are hearing me, because a word is enough for the wise. Okay? Now, this year as well, what a lot of us are struggling to deal with, and I say a lot of us, those who are Africans and those of us Africans who travel on a Nigerian passport, those who are green passport holders, and other African countries. A lot of what the United States of America does affects us incredibly. There are so many loved ones that we have that are spread across the world. There are so many of us who are looking for work opportunities, who are looking for life opportunities across the globe in different ways. And on the 1st of January of 2026, a travel ban was put in place that tremendously affects Nigerians and affects a number of other African countries. It was putting a complete pause on immigration processes, putting a pause on visa renewals, and just putting a pause essentially on people's lives. It would just be amiss to not reference it, because it is a big deal, right? And what that's done for a number of people is it's thrown us into this space of uncertainty, into the space of questioning what the future really holds for us. And this travel ban, even though it seems to be just a physical restriction, because I consider myself and a number of us who are globally minded, because the world is like a global village right now. What we're also experiencing in certain ways, at least in the entertainment industry, I also see a similar pattern occurring, is we're experiencing digital limitations as well, digital boundaries of where our work can travel. Just like where we can physically travel to is being curtailed, where our work travels to digitally is also being curtailed. It's being modified. We're being forced to reimagine, to rethink, and to re-strategize ways of ways of not just exporting our culture, but ways of earning and making sure that our work can cross borders seamlessly. And it's scary. It's scary. I had a meeting with a couple of industry colleagues. So for those of you who don't know, who might be watching me from wherever in the world and you're just stumbling across this, hi, my name is Folu Storms. I'm an actor, a voiceover artist, and a number of other things. I'm also a lawyer. I'm a creative entrepreneur. That's the best way to put it. And I've been working in this space for over a decade plus. And I've learned a lot of things along the way. The most fundamental of which I believe in Nigeria is we have a lot of systems that are still being built, and we have a lot of systems that still need to be built. But there's so many people who are figuring out and finding innovative ways to thrive, even within sometimes systemic failure, and sometimes the complete unavailability of systems. And that includes looking for how to economically thrive. A lot of why I ended up in entertainment or in media, and why I even have this StormCast, is rooted in my desire to understand better and to learn through conversations with others and experiences of others how to thrive economically, how to build something that is sustainable long term, how to galvanize thought, or how to inspire conversations that galvanize thought into action, into moving in particular directions. And so one of the things that I like to pay attention to or to listen to when the conversations are happening is how our work is moving. In Nigeria, and talking about travel limitations and talking about digital limitations, right? In Nigeria, we experienced a few years ago when streaming companies came in and everyone felt like, ooh, this is so exciting. The future is bright. There are all these possibilities. All these projects are being licensed. You know, you just need to know this person and this person that you can get on Netflix. And, you know, everyone had stars in their eyes. Yeah. Economic prosperity is ahead. That's how it felt. That's how it looked. Since that time, we've seen a dramatic shift in how these international companies, these streaming giants, deal with Nigerian filmmakers. And what seemed like clear paths have suddenly become very muddy waters, with everyone now trying to understand a new way to exist, a new way to thrive, a new way to grow. And it's been fascinating, it's been challenging, it's been interesting just sort of watching and seeing what different people are trying out, what they're doing. I have no answers. This is just musing, so I'm so sorry. You guys are just going to go with me on this musing, and you can feel free to share in the comments below. But what I am noticing is that, or what I'm being reminded of, is that fortune favors the bold. Do. Get into your own actions. Try not to lean into the uncertainties. I believe that, and I've seen history will shows us all that in every time period there are uncertainties. There's nothing that is certain. There's absolutely nothing that's certain. Government policies change, whether it is the government of the country that you call home or it is the government of a country that you would like to call home, whether you're visiting or otherwise. Policies change, rules change, and our ability to adapt and our willingness to innovate in spite of challenges is what will set a lot of people apart. One's willingness to trust in sound principles, in core principles, in diligent work, in good work, one's willingness to begin again is what will really help. It's so easy to feel that once one avenue has been blocked off or closed off, that there is no more hope. It's very easy to wail, or it's very easy to follow this mass tide in this other direction. Okay, this one isn't here, there's other here. This is why silence is good. This is why scheduling in time to just think for yourself is good, because what is good for you may not be good for somebody else, and vice versa. The travel bans and the travel restrictions are, again, a reminder that no matter where you want to go in the world, you have to figure out how to exist at home. Because one day, what if all the avenues are closed off? When we look at these travel restrictions and we look at some of these digital restrictions, I think it's very important to keep in mind the context in which all of this is happening, that these restrictions are being used as political leverage in different spaces and different quadrants, and it continues to lend to the atmosphere and the effect of uncertainty. It lends to an atmosphere of fear, and it's very important to stay grounded while all these things are happening around us. I feel that it's also very important to still, for people like me, to maintain the idea of travel as therapy, okay? If one country say no, let's find the one that's saying yes. You don't have to even leave necessarily like your country lines. Just go somewhere new. It could be the next state. Have you been to like the Obudu mountain range recently? That's pretty cool. I suggest going. There are waterfalls to explore. There are so many areas, and I know that especially in a place like Nigeria, there are also concerns about insecurity. So it is important to check certain things with self, but treat yourself to something. Treat yourself to time off. Treat yourself to a staycation. And is it treating yourself as much as it is making sure you're making time for your personal therapy, for things that pour into you, for things that nurture you? Because, my dears, if you don't do it for yourself, when you see other people doing it for themselves, you'll be a hater. You are going to be the first person saying, who does that person think they are? They are somebody who thinks that they're worth it. So the challenge is, do you really think that you're worth it? Do you really think that you're worth the life that you would like to have? Because if you genuinely thought that you were worth the life that you desire, the goal that you set in your mind, you would be more conscientious about taking active, positive steps daily to reach those goals and to reach those objectives. And I said what I said. Because subconsciously, for a lot of us, for a lot of people, it's so easy for us to put everybody before ourselves, to prioritize everything and everyone else instead of ourselves and our needs. And yes, I think you should definitely look at community, but you really need to take time to understand yourself, what is pouring into you, what is taking from you, and understand it in the context of what is happening in the globe, the atmosphere of insecurity, the atmosphere of individualism, and individualistic movements that prioritize self over everything else. I think there is a line there is a balance there's a line to be towed, okay? I think there's definitely a line to be towed. And even speaking within that, of the things to reassess as we come again to the end of January, and this, the next few episodes of the StormCast. There's two sides to every coin. When I asked a lot of people how 2025 went for them, the reaction a lot of the time was like, oof. Oh, it was, man, that year was tough. The year was tough. So the question is, how do you feel this year is going to go? There are many things that could be positive indicators, perhaps economic boom coming our way. We're looking at Dangote's refinery is supposed to be listed. I'm not sure if the listing's already happened at this point. We're looking at tax reforms that making a lot of people nervous, but it's also supposed to help the economy. Are you one of those people that you're feeling the squeeze, or are you feeling the potential, the possibility of new things? Are you feeling the excitement of what could be, of what could be growing? I don't know. I know that for 2025, I feel like it was a year that definitely challenged me. I feel like it was a year that stretched me. I feel like it was a year that forced me to really to hold myself accountable, and to really lean into accountability for what I'm spending my time doing, the things that I say that I want, and what I'm actually putting time towards. It was a year to put aside, or to work on putting aside. I'm a work in progress, guys. I don't know. To work on putting aside feelings of... It was a year to have faith. And that's really, as I sit and I reassess and I'm looking at how this year is going already, I will say it's something I've really been building on. I do believe that that's a positive habit. And as such, because I have this faith, I genuinely... I'm feeling very optimistic. I'm feeling very positive about how this year is going to play out. I am feeling very... I don't even want to say inspired and motivated, because those feelings are kind of fickle, because it's not quite inspiration. It's not quite motivation. I feel quietly confident in my ability to do certain things. I feel quietly confident even in my ability to recover should I fail in some of the things I'm doing, some of the paths I'm going down. I am feeling quietly confident about the level of vulnerability that I'm exhibiting in personal relationships and personal friendships, in my workspaces, because I'm human. And I think when we take away the idea or the notion that, you know, you can fail disastrously, when you stop putting a certain amount of pressure on yourself, because I feel I have my goal setting or my goal orientation is a lot more realistic. It's a lot more practical. I still dream big. I still dream what some people would consider unrealistic dreams. But when I say realistic, I mean it is with perspective, is with the understanding that this is what I'm aiming for. And I expect that I should get here or very close to here, so that even if it's not ideal, even if it's not perfect, I'm showing up anyways. I'm showing up afraid, I'm showing up nervous, and I'm doing the thing. And so I'm one of those people that I'm feeling positive. So I'm wondering whether you're feeling the possibility of an economic boom, whether you're feeling the possibility of growth for yourself, whether that's what you've been experiencing this January, or whether it's just more squeezing. And if it's more squeezing, find out why. What is squeezing? Where are your pain points? Where are your pressure points? Do you know? Or maybe it's just a general feeling of malaise. If it's a general feeling, you need to sit down and really assess, where is that coming from? Because it's coming from somewhere. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's what he said, she said. Maybe there are people in your life you need to cut out. Because I also believe very strongly in spring cleaning friendships. I believe in spring cleaning your relationships. I believe that if you are finding that certain people, when you leave them, you are drained and exhausted, I think you should start cutting down how much time you spend with certain people. I don't necessarily advocate for burning bridges, but I do advocate for burning bridges that need to be burned, because if you are not falling in line with the program, you got to go. You got to go. Nobody's going to fight for your mental well-being the way that you're going to fight for your mental well-being. And nobody can affect that quite as much as people that you surround yourself with. So take a look around you. Take a look at your circle. Take a look around your friendship circle. Or take a look around the circle that you're just spending a lot of time with. Whether or not they're high achievers or not. Are they high achievers that are making you feel like the under of shoe? Because sometimes you spend time around people who are so good at casually putting you down. At casually getting you to agree with your place being below them, at casually chipping away at your self-confidence because it makes them feel good. And you may not have noticed. I'm asking you to pay attention to the people around you. This is the time for reassessment. Assess what is adding to your energy and what is taking away from your energy. As we are rounding up this first month, of 2026. I think that's major key. That is a major key. And I think, again, just to round up this very quick personal chat, this little solo session we're having, is to say that whether you're fully gingered about 2026 or you are a lot more subdued in your approach, I want you to honestly believe and have faith that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you have all the tools that you need at your disposal to navigate the storms of this year. That's, I think, the biggest takeaway from this session. And that's really what I wanted to just highlight. It's very quick. This is not a long one. I just want us to know that we have it. We have that skill set. We have that tool set. And because I've spent the last year, I believe, building faith and growing in faith. And I know that through the season as well, you're going to see it would become more and more obvious to you. I should hope. It may not, but I should hope so. Because I've noticed that when you lose faith, and I say this as someone who has lost faith, and I've navigated losing faith, and finding my way back to a relationship with God, a relationship with the divine that guides me and continues to fulfill my purpose, because I believe that I have certain purposes in life, right? Allowing a loss of faith to happen when it comes to even God reflects in all areas of your life. In all areas of your life. Because when you lose that ability to have faith in a thing, in an idea, in something, faith is the trust in something that you have no real evidence of yet, or something that is unseen, whether it is God, whether it is your idea. When you lose faith, you lose so much more than you realize until a certain amount of time has passed. When you lose faith in God and you lose faith in the divine, you lose faith in so many aspects of life. You lose faith in your ability to execute. You lose faith in the idea that your ideas are inherently good. You lose faith in the idea that things can work out for your good. That loss of faith, I'm beginning to notice, is single-handedly one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a human being, because it is contagious. It is like a virus in all aspects of life. Do you have people in your life that you talk to that you just notice they can be so heavy and they can be so negative about things? It is a loss of faith. They've lost faith in the goodness of life. They've lost faith in the goodness of God. They've lost faith in the possibility of just good things happening to them. When you come across people who have lost faith, that's when, I think that's part of what the Bible talks about when it talks about equally yoked and unequally yoked. When you come across people who do not believe in anything, bruh, it's like a dark hole. It's like a dark hole, and you feel it if you've ever gone through that period of your life where you don't know which way is up and which way is down. It feels like being lost in this vortex, in like a swirl. It is, maybe it's not even a darkness. It's like what a succubus, if a succubus was not like a physical, a person-ish kind of a creature. If a succubus was just a thing, like a black hole. That's what that loss of faith feels like. It sucks the light out of everything. It sucks the joy out of everything. And it is so dangerous. So I ask you, as we go into 2026, in whatever way, have faith outside of yourself. You may not believe in the Christian God, but understand that there is more to you than the physical. And that will always be important. That will always be relevant as part of as being human. That is where creativity comes from. That is where dreams come from that intangible thing. We go somewhere when we leave this mortal coil. And it is so important that you hold on to those kernels of faith and you nurture them and you blow on those embers till they turn into a burning fire. Have faith. Have faith. Have faith in things outside of yourself. Have faith in yourself, but understand that not all things come from you. At the end of the day, you didn't create yourself. So have faith, whatever it is you want to call it, have faith. Find something to anchor in, to root in. And I believe that is the anchor that will be the surest through the storms that will surely come in 2026 as well, because life isn't completely storm-free. It's not. But storms are there to reshape, to test your mettle. And each time you ride out a storm, bruh, like storm riders, storm troopers, you know the vibes. So do that as we're reassessing, as we're going through the next few months of 2026. I want you to really hold that dear, hold that close, and let's ride out the storms together. So that's it for this episode of the StormCast. I want to thank you so much for joining me. There's so many other episodes that you can go check out. Please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode. And this episode of the StormCast has been recorded at the Creative Economy Practice Hub, which is fantastic, this dope space. Big shout out to Akaso Designs, production design, that helped me create the set. Big shout out to Rixel Studios for helping me shoot this. But if you want to know how you can book spaces at the Creative Economy Practice, the CEP Hub, let me know. There will be a link in the description box below so that you can click to find out more. But that is it for now. Go check out the other episodes of the StormCast. And when we come back, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.